You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast, and on this episode, we're playing The Shape of Trivia, the John Carpenter horror trivia show. Here we go.
Recorded in front of a live studio audience.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to America's, nay, the world's favorite game show. Fan2Fan Podcast presents The Shape of Trivia, the John Carpenter horror movie quiz. We're putting your Carpenter cred to the test, from his early days as an indie filmmaker to his evolution to the master of horror, from killer cars to bubblegum-fueled alien fights, from Halloween to Ghost of Mars. Can you spot the truth from the myths in the world of John Carpenter? We have returning guest Pete Charbonneau.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having me again. I hate to do it, but I have to question the game show, like, contestant outreach, because I've somehow managed to be the lone contestant on several shows now, and I am not complaining, because I am here to win the big money. I'm here to take home board game version of the show. Whatever you've got, I want it.
Pete, you've been the contestant on a number of different horror movie trivia ones. This one specifically focuses on John Carpenter. This one might be a little bit more straightforward, Pete. You've had some luck, both good and bad. Are you ready, Pete?
I am so ready. If I was more ready, I'd be Helen ready. But I'm not, so I'm just ready.
And as always, our show is brought to you by John Carpenter's Handy Wipes. Come on, studio audience, let's give it up for our sponsor. From the master of horror himself comes the master of clean, introducing John Carpenter's Handy Wipes, the only wipes tough enough to survive a night in Haddonfield, yet gentle enough for your kitchen counters. Spilled soda, blood-curdling mess, no problem. These wipes slice through grime like Michael would through, well, you know what he would slice through. They're strong, they're scary good, and they're waiting in the shadows of your local store aisle. Don't fear the mess, don't feel the reaper. Carpenter's got you covered. John Carpenter's Handy Wipes.
It's good. I mean, I enjoy the movie. It's just silly parts to it. There are a couple things I wish I could change now, but every movie's that way. I see it and I think, well, what the fuck was I thinking?
Believe it or not, Pete, there are times when there are some filmmakers, actors, people that are in film production that don't use their actual name when it comes to the credits. So John Carpenter, he has used pseudonyms in the credits of his movies. And if you're asking yourself, what is a pseudonym? By any other definition, it's essentially a pen name, a fictitious name that someone uses. Give you an example, you might have an embarrassed filmmaker who disowns their motion picture, or maybe a modest filmmaker who wants to avoid having their names shown over and over again in the opening credits. We've seen it a few times. Paul Vanderhoven, director responsible for RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers. When he was working on Showgirls, he used the pseudonym Jan Jansen when it came to the television cut of the movie, because he felt it was so heavily edited, he literally did not want his name on it. John Hughes used a fake pen name, a pseudonym, in writing the scripts for Beethoven, Made in Manhattan, and the classic Drobit Taylor. His alias was Edmond Dantes, which was inspired by the main character from the novel, The Count of Monte Cristo. The Coen brothers have used fake names as well. Roderick Jaynes and Reginald Jaynes for editing some of their movies, more specifically Fargo and No Country for Old Men. And to circle back to the world of horror, Sam Raimi, one of the minds behind the Evil Dead movies, was credited as R.O.C. Sandstorm, that's right, R.O.C. Sandstorm, for his work on The Man with the Screaming Brain, starring one of his fellow chumps, Bruce Campbell, and his editing on Army of Darkness. But Pete, we're talking about John Carpenter, so let's go back to the master of horror. I'm going to offer you up 3 potential pseudonyms that Mr. Carpenter has used throughout his career. 2 are real, 1 is false. First one, Martin Quatermass, John T. Chance, or Samuel Crane. One of these is fake, Pete. One of these pseudonyms.
All right, so I know for a fact that Carpenter was a fan of the Quatermass experiment, so it stands to reason that he would have used that. So that's not my answer, which leaves me with the last two.
John T. Chance and Samuel Crane.
John T. Chance almost sounds like, I don't know, that sounds like a former like Western movie star. And we do know that Carpenter's a fan of Westerns. So I'm going to go with the last one.
Samuel Crane?
Samuel Crane is my answer.
Ding, 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 ding. Correct, Pete.
Oh, my God.
Samuel Crane is indeed fake. Like you mentioned, Martin Quatermass is the pseudonym that Carpenter used in Prince of Darkness. He used John T. Chance as his pseudonym as editor on Assault on Precinct 13. And I think that makes sense considering that movie takes so much from the world of Westerns, which Carpenter has made very clear. That's where John Ford Westerns, fan of John Wayne, I think in Halloween, it may have actually been John Carpenter's car that Michael Myers is driving. And the bumper sticker on there, I believe, says something like John Wayne fan. Absolutely, John T. Chance makes sense. I think it might have even been one of John Wayne's like characters' names from a movie.
You nailed it, and I'm sure people out there knew this already. I did not, but yes, that was who John Wayne played in Rio Bravo.
But you were right, Pete. Samuel Crane was not one that he has used, but kind of sounds like one that he could use.
It does. Thinking like Marion Crane from Psycho, so maybe like a tie in there, but I didn't think of that before I went through my other machinations. So off to a flying start.
Samuel Loomis, Crane, that kind of makes sense.
Oh.
There was an attempt there to try to fool you, but couldn't fool Pete Charbonneau, folks. Not this time.
John Carpenter's The Thing. Screenplay by Bill Lancaster. The Thing. The ultimate in alien terror. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
It's 1982. John Carpenter's The Thing is out, and there's a lovely actress, who voices that computer. Is it Jamie Lee Curtis or Adrienne Barbeau?
When you first started asking this, I'm like, I know this without question, and now I'm starting to doubt myself, and I was going to have this whole big spiel of how you know that The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time, and there's very little about The Thing that I don't know. Just not actually true, but it's something that I like to say. Although I'm having some doubts, they're not big enough to change my answer, which is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Unfortunately, Pete, that is incorrect. It was Adrienne Barbeau who voiced the computer in 1982's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Poor baby, you're starting to lose it, aren't you?
Your move, king to rook 1. My move, rook to knight 6. Checkmate. Checkmate.
Cheeky bitch.
In the opening scene where McCready plays the computer chess game, that disembodied voice you hear was actually provided by Carpenter's then-wife, Adrienne Barbeau. And while Curtis is actually not credited on any of the films, she's often linked to John Carpenter's Escape from New York and LA as the opening narrator and the voice of various computers that are heard in both movies. It's been commonly accepted, but from some research, it seems like it's never actually been confirmed by John Carpenter or Jamie Lee Curtis or anyone else involved in the movies that she actually did that. And just as a little bit more of a side note, John Carpenter did lend his voice to that of the scientist that was sending those creepy-ass signals from the future in Prince of Darkness.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We are using your brain's electrical system as a receiver. We are unable to transmit through conscious neural interference. You are receiving this broadcast as a dream. We are transmitting from year 1999. You are receiving this broadcast in order to alter the events you are seeing. Our technology has now developed a transmitter strong enough to reach your conscious state of awareness. The
What I got it mixed up with was that she did lend her voice to the town's intercom system in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I didn't redeem myself enough to get any points in the game, but in my mind, I feel a lot better.
It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. Curfew. Curfew. All residents of Santa Mira, please clear the street.
Operator, this is an emergency. I want to...
Sorry, we cannot complete your call as dialed. Please hang up and...
Well, we're going to give you another option to redeem yourself, Pete, with yet another question. There are various directors who have chosen to make a little bit of a cameo in their movies. Hitchcock, well known for doing that, even if it could blink if you miss it. Well, it turns out John Carpenter has also made some cameos in his movies. So we're going to set up a few scenarios for you here, and you have to figure out which John Carpenter cameo is real. Now, did John Carpenter, was he Benning's hand double in The Thing, a hand cameo as the close-up of Bennings as he was being assimilated? Was Carpenter the old man riding the bike in the Mouth of Madness? Or was John Carpenter the TV weatherman in John Carpenter's 1983 Christine, where he briefly delivered the weather report on the television that Arnie's parents are watching?
Well, I haven't seen In the Mouth of Madness in a day and a half or several hundred days, so I don't even have a vision in my mind of what that old man on the bike was doing. So this is going to be a complete shot in the dark. All right, I'm going to attempt to use logic, which has never failed me in the past. I don't recall him making a bunch of appearances full-bodied and so that he's recognizable. I'm gonna guess that he was Benning's hand in The Thing.
Thumbs up, Pete. He was indeed the hand in The Thing. Well, technically, his hand in monster makeup. The TV weatherman in John Carpenter's Christine is actually played by Dan Aykroyd's brother, Peter Aykroyd. And the old man riding the bike in John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness came out in 1994. It was played by actor Franklin E. Caudell. But I would argue, Pete, if you ever see that scene, you will just wholeheartedly believe that is John Carpenter, because he is on the screen for a few seconds, but Mr. Franklin E. Caudell has a very similar look to John Carpenter's visage. Another little side note here that we like to throw out, he does make the full-bodied cameo in John Carpenter's The Fog in 1980 as Bennett, the church's handyman.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yep.
I'm all through, Father. Oh, thank you, Bennett. I won't need you until 4 tomorrow, Bennett. Yes, sir. Would you like something to keep you warm on the way home? No, thank you. Father, can I get paid? Why don't you come in at 6 instead of 4 tomorrow?
Body Bags, that came out in 93. He plays the coroner, but he's like the crypt keeper that hosts like all the anthology segments. That was supposed to be a pilot for Showtime trying to create their own Tales from the Crypt that never really went anywhere. So they just put it all together into a movie where I want to say it was Tobe Hooper and Carpenter who directed all the segments. But like on most trivia shows, if you also say Mick Garris maybe directed one of the segments, I don't feel like I would be dumb in saying that, because I feel like that could be possible.
You also acted in The Fog, and I remember you saying...
Why do you bring this up to me?
Well, because it's an important point. The reason you told me that you did it was so that you would have the perspective of an actor and understand that. But
a bad actor.
To understand, so you could communicate with actors what the experience was like being on the other side.
I hated it. I hated it. There's Hal Holbrook facing me, and there's lights, and I just, tried to say the lines. It was awful. Oh, God, it was awful.
Can I go now, Father?
Shush.
Do you regret having done it, or was it a worthwhile experiment?
I don't know. It's all in the past now.
Okay, well, let's talk about Body Bags then, because that was your most notable acting.
You can hide behind makeup.
Well, that was very freeing. You're having a blast doing that.
I understand Orson Welles more now because he was a makeup actor. He always changed his nose for parts. He felt secure behind makeup. He felt secure to do things. And he was frightened.
Really?
All you have to do is get this stuff on and start making faces. And it's not you anymore.
All right, Pete, we're going to move to another segment here, something that you very much enjoy, which is music. In Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the iconic Silver Shamrock jingle was created to sound like a catchy retail commercial. Lord knows we grew up in the 80s. We are nothing but susceptible to a good jingle. And whose voice, Pete, was used for the jingle? I'm going to throw out a few options for you here on who may have actually written that Silver Shamrock ditty. A, John Carpenter himself, the composer of the original Halloween theme, who maybe recorded the jingle late at night in the studio. Tommy Lee Wallace, the film's director, who sang the jingle, and he was also a musician. And as we well know, as being John Carpenter fans, he was also part of the band The Coupe de Villes, along with Carpenter and Nick Castle. Obviously, Big Trouble in Little China. That's the big music video that you should be YouTubing right now. C, Donald Pleasance, the actor who played Dr. Loomis, who maybe happened to be on the set of Halloween 3 visiting, and Tommy Lee Wallace says, Donald, come on over here and maybe do a playful alternate voice recording for the song that was ultimately used as the Silver Shamrock jingle. Or Nick Castle, obviously known for playing the Shape, Michael Myers himself in the original Halloween. Maybe he came back to do the commercial voice because he was also, again, a musician, part of the group, part of the Coupe de Villes, along with Carpenter and Tommy Lee Wallace. And throws out some dulcet tones. The bigger question, Pete, is did he throw out dulcet tones for the Silver Shamrock jingle, or was it Donald Pleasance, Tommy Lee Wallace, or John Carpenter himself?
Hey, Lonnie, get your Silver Shamrock ass away from there.
I know the answer to this. We'll just dispense with me trying to beat around the bush. It was Tommy Lee Wallace, who also did the voiceover for the commercial.
Ding, 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 Pete. I guess he had very dulcet tones, and everyone agreed he was already on set. There was no extra cost. I saw the interview where composer Alan Howarth actually sped up Wallace's voice, and the jingle was deliberately crafted to be like an earworm, like a commercial tune, but also specifically to avoid any copyright issues, using the melody of London Bridges Falling Down. Public domain, you don't have to worry about getting the rights for anything.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. 8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Yes, kids, you too can own one of the big Halloween 3. That's right, 3 horrific masks to choose from. They're fun, they're frightening, and they glow in the dark.
Earworm for sure. Amazing.
You start humming it, and anyone that is any kind of horror fan is gonna start singing along with you.
Absolutely. So let's stick in the category of music, Pete, in this John Carpenter trivia Halloween horror movie game. Which musician did Carpenter not collaborate with on a soundtrack? Alan Howarth, Ennio Morricone, Shirley Walker, or Goblin?
Well, we know that he collaborated with Alan Howarth. Ennio Morricone, we know, worked on The Thing, so that's a yes. Forgive me, but I'm not even quite sure who Shirley Walker is. And if that's a blind spot for me, shame on me. I will take all the slings and arrows that come with that. Goblin, I certainly do know, and I'm trying to think if they appeared in any John Carpenter production. And I don't know the answer, but I will go with Goblin. That will be my answer.
That is correct, Pete. Ding, 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 ding. So he did work with, as you mentioned, Alan Howarth on Escape from New York, Christine, Ennio Morricone on The Thing. With Shirley Walker, he worked with her on Memoirs of an Invisible Man. And here's at least one that you would probably know. She very much took on the mantle after Danny Elfman made the iconic score for the 1989 Batman. And she did the Batman, the animated movie, let alone a ton of other movies, including, in this case, the John Carpenter, Chevy Chase led Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Goblin we know because of, the Dawn of the Dead European cut, Suspiria, but Carpenter never worked with them. But when you go to Goblin, they pretty much almost have worked with another master of horror, Dario Argento, not Carpenter. Considering their synth similarity, thought that would be potentially one to throw a curveball your way, but you hit that one out of the park, Pete.
Synthesizer was because you could sound big. I compose because I'm cheap and I'm fast, and we just didn't have any money for a composer and hiring a soundstage with musicians. And what kind of music should go with a salt?
So another music question for you, Pete. Which Carpenter film did not feature a score composed or co-composed by him? The Fog, Halloween 2, Prince of Darkness, or Escape from LA?
I'm almost positive that he did the first three.
So The Fog, Halloween 2, and Prince of Darkness. Feel pretty good about those. And then there's also Escape from LA.
Yeah, Escape from LA is the one that I'm not sure about, which is why I'm leaning towards that. But I'm trying to think of, like, there's some nugget in the back of my mind that's going to be like, oh no, remember he only produced Halloween 2 and he didn't do the score. But he did do the score for Halloween 2. He did, Peter. And now I'm talking to myself. This is my thought process when I do most things in life, and it's why I've become the success that I have. I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with Escape from LA.
Unfortunately, Pete, you should not have listened to yourself.
I should not have escaped.
Halloween 2, released in 1981, and although it was obviously heavily based on Carpenter's original score.
So is that just Alan Howarth?
That is just actually recorded and adapted by Alan Howarth.
The whole Halloween series became electronic because the attractiveness was we needed no one else. That was just one or two guys in a room, did the whole thing. There's no arrangers, there's no copyists, there's no scoring dates, there's no deadlines that we're going to spend $50,000 tomorrow in orchestra, we better be ready for 100-piece, etc. Technically, I received the 24, at the time, a 16-track of John's original score that he did with a fellow named Dan Wyman over at Sound Arts. And so now I transferred that to a 24-track, got some open tracks, and basically I overdubbed me over John. So John was still there on tape, and then my overdubs is what shaped the sound of Halloween 2.
Which is why that Halloween 2 score sounds so similar to John Carpenter's score, but then he obviously took some liberties, but not enough where it sounds that disparate from the Halloween score that John Carpenter composed.
Isn't it great when you can talk so surely about something and then be immediately proven wrong right after?
Been trick-or-treated to death tonight.
You don't know what death is.
So, Pete, let's stick with the music themes because I know you love yourself some music. Which rock star auditioned for the role of Snake Plissken in 1981's Escape from New York? We're talking a rock star. Was it Bruce Springsteen, Tom Waits, Nick Cave, or Alice Cooper? So 4 bona fide musicians / rock stars, well-known, celebrated.
That Nick Cave is that is an interesting choice. I'm kind of digging that you included him, whether he was the person or not. I like that. I feel like Tom Waits did some acting though, so maybe, just maybe, he couldn't wait anymore and thought that was going to be his big break. So I will guess Tom Waits.
Tom Waits unfortunately was stuck waiting.
Oh.
Springsteen was born to run, but in this case, he was joining Tom Waits in the waiting room in the cave because that's the only way I can combine all 3 of them because it was the Cooper himself, Alex Cooper, who actually met with Carpenter about the role of Snake Plissken, but Kurt Russell ultimately won the part, made it iconic, made it the Snake Plissken that we all love today. But Alice Cooper did appear in Prince of Darkness as one of the possessed homeless figures outside of the church and does it in very Alice Cooper fashion.
That's very true. Yeah, I just can't picture Alice Cooper as Snake Plissken.
It's also hard to see anyone but Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken.
That's a good point. So, yeah, same thing with The Thing, like, you know, or pretty much anything that Kurt Russell, it's still with John Carpenter. Like, I can't picture anyone else doing the roles that he inhabited.
That's right. And I think John Carpenter would agree with you because he just kept putting him on speed dial. If anything, I'm actually surprised that he wasn't in Starman.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know much of the history of that one. I would not be surprised if he was at some point in the running. We'll have to look it up. If you know out there in Fan2Fan land, dial 1-800-STARMAN.
We'll move to another stalwart of casting in Carpenter films, Pete. We go from Kurt Russell to Buck Flower.
Oh, George Buck Flower.
Which of these John Carpenter films, Pete, does not have an appearance by Buck Flowers? Is it 1984's Starman? Is it 1988's They Live? 1981's Escape from New York? Or 1987's Prince of Darkness? So George Buck Flowers not in one of these films. Starman, They Live, Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness.
Well, I know that he's in They Live, but he's among the group of the out group that is struggling to get by, that takes the deal with the aliens. And I can't remember his exact line, but the way that he says it, it's almost got like an ASMR quality to me when he meets up with Roddy Piper and Keith David. He's all, suited up there. He's like, "Come on, fellas, you can get a bit of the good life." There's just a way that he delivers that. I'm like, if he just talked like that in my ear for like 30 minutes, I'd be asleep. I get the best night's sleep ever. So, thank you, George Buck Flower, for whatever you're doing for my ASMR sleeping habits.
So you're sure he wasn't They Live? That's for sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen Starman in so long. That would be a guess. Prince of Darkness, I want to say that he's got a bit in there. I believe that he does.
Which would make sense because, John Carpenter is very loyal to cast, and you do see a lot of his cast members show up in a lot of his movies throughout the decades as he was filming. So
yeah, he wants his cast to earn a buck, and he likes to give them their flowers. I'm trying to remember Escape from New York, where he might have been in that. I'm guessing again, Bernie, you've done a masterful job putting these questions together because there's quite a few that I am not really sure of. I'm going to guess Escape from New York.
Unfortunately, Pete, we cannot give you your flowers.
Was it Starman?
It is not. In Starman, he actually played like a backwoods guy who was watching the falling meteor.
Oh.
In They Live, as you so very confidently put, he plays the drifter who kind of joins the aliens and betrays mankind in very ASMR fashion. In Escape from New York, he plays a drunk because that's what he does really well in a lot of movies. Couldn't be pigeonholed for being in Prince of Darkness because he was never in Prince of Darkness, Pete.
You sure he didn't play the green goo? That could have been an uncredited performance. George Buck Goo.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want. We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team. See ya, boys.
All right, so we're going to go from George Buck Flowers to a reason why you might send flowers, Pete. It's a dedication. And who did John Carpenter dedicate 1982's The Thing to? Howard Hawks, Alfred Hitchcock, Nigel Neal, or Ray Bradbury?
So Howard Hawks did the original Thing from Another World. I know he was a fan of Nigel Neal too, because Nigel Neal did Quatermass. I got to go with Howard Hawks. I know that he was a huge fan of the film, and he was really gung ho about doing the remake. So it stands to reason that he would dedicate that to Howard Hawks.
You are hawkish in your answers, Pete, and you are correct. You are soaring in the sky with the right answers. It was indeed Howard Hawks. The movie Thing from Another World, 1951, actually, inspired John Carpenter's remake. It only makes sense that he dedicated his 1982 adaptation to Howard Hawks.
Howard Hawks was the kind of ultimate hero to me, and I saw his movies as a kid, but I wasn't familiar with some of the older ones and the scope of his work until I went to film school at USC. And all of a sudden, I saw all his movies at once. And I saw something that I hadn't seen in other filmmakers. Let's take an example, Hitchcock. Hitchcock wears his technique on his sleeve. So he's easy to love. Anybody can love Alfred Hitchcock. They can say, well, I can see why he's so good. Howard Hawks is invisible. You don't really understand what he's doing, but he does his technique and works it on you. And you think you're just watching a movie and watching actors. in reality, you're watching a master at work.
All right, Pete, let's go to the last question. We're going to flash forward a little bit from maybe, arguably, the heyday, the golden era of John Carpenter to the early aughts, 2001 specifically, where some of his films maybe are not as well received. The Ward, Vampires, Escape from LA, and maybe this one, Ghost of Mars. John Carpenter has been a self-professed fan of video games and basketball. And in the 2001 Ghost of Mars, which professional basketball player was nearly cast as an alien bounty hunter in the movie Ghost of Mars? Was it Shaquille O'Neal, Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley, or Akeem Olajuwon?
This is a tough one because basketball is not my sport.
And these are all somewhat maybe larger than life characters that have almost gone beyond the court to pop culture. As a Chicagoan myself, Dennis Rodman, the Bulls, who was also in a number of movies himself.
Yeah, he rebounded to a career starring with a different JC, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
There you go.
Double impact. Shaq, because, Shazam.
That's right. I figured you were probably going back to your days cruising around Long Island listening to Shaq Fu, his debut album, and I think his only album.
You would not miss a Friday night cruising up and down Deer Park Avenue, cruising in your IROC Z, laying down some heavy Shaq tracks. I'm trying to think of who would have vibed with Carpenter to be in this, and that's where my brain goes to Dennis Rodman. I feel like Hakeem Olajuwon is like the wild card in this one. It's like, it's like the Sesame Street, one of these kids is doing his own thing.
One of these things is not like the other?
That's right, yeah. So I'm tempted to say Hakeem, but I'm going to stick with Dennis Rodman because I feel like there's some kind of chemistry between him and Carpenter.
Dennis Rodman is correct.
Yes.
Dennis Rodman was considered, but ultimately not cast. He did star in, as you mentioned, 1997's classic Double Team with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
What did I say, Double Impact or something?
Double Impact was a Jean-Claude Van Damme film, so you're right there.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And he did star next to, I think, Academy Award-winning Mickey Rourke in 1999 Simon Says, and the Says is with a Z, S-E-Z. So, Pete, you won. You won the John Carpenter horror movie trivia game. You get a lifetime supply of handy wipes.
Yes.
You guessed it. That's right. John Carpenter presents Handy Wipes.
John Carpenter's Handy Wipes.
From the master of horror himself. If you want to wipe, do it right. John Carpenter's Handy Wipes.
Get clean. Get John Carpenter clean. John Carpenter Handy Wipes. Available at CVS.
And I thought, there's enough of this. Forget it. Goodbye.